Hey everyone, we're just here today to talk you through a new release of a new product we have at Navidium. We've had in for quite a lot of time a beta version of our Voyage Optimization product out there, getting various different tests and so on happening, and we're very excited that this week sort of officially putting in version 1 into production. So it's now over from a beta version over to a fully ready to go version. And today, really, we just want to spend a little bit of time sharing some of the feature functionalities that we have today and what you can expect as a customer of Navidium in the next months and features that will be coming in the next while. So agenda really is quite simple. We'll do a bit of an introduction for those of you not familiar with Navidium. I'll talk a bit about our approach, what we're doing. Then Gavin, who's also on the call, will talk you through key feature overview of what's in our Voyage Optimization product, which we call Voyage Optimization X. So this is where you see VOX is the acronym for it. He'll go then through a full end-to-end demo of some of the key features you'll see within the product. Then just a brief slide on what's coming, what you would expect to see in the next couple of months as a customer of Navidium. And then I will also mention just about some of the other things that are happening outside of the Voyage Optimization product as well. So today on the call you have myself. I'm the CTO at Navidium. My background before Navidium is very much within sort of leading large software organizations and different businesses around the world. I'm from Ireland, but actually live in Norway. My technical background is very much within building software that speak to physical assets. We've also got Gavin on the call that you'll hear from very soon. He's one of our product managers in Navidium. He's our senior product manager and delivery lead. His full responsibility for our Voyage Optimization product. He's sitting in Edinburgh in Scotland. His experience prior to Navidium is very much building and supporting large sort of SaaS products within the UK. Also numerous years spent sort of delivering projects and products to large and demanding, let's say, enterprise customers and things. So a lot of experience sort of running teams, running deliveries and stuff, as well as building products. So that's both of us today and who you'll hear in this call today. So about Navidium, if you've never heard about us, I can keep it quite simple. So we're a technology company, and we're committed to the maritime industry, making the maritime industry more efficient, transparent, resilient, and sustainable. We see a lot of changes coming in the maritime industry, obviously, and a lot of our backgrounds are stuff from maybe from renewable energy, and it's something that we're very passionate about the environment and how we can be a part of helping bring out the maritime industry into the more environmentally friendly and more sustainable business of the future. About us as a business, we took a not so common approach to how to build up the company we're in today. So we're a 100% remote company. We're very diverse. We have people, essentially all over the world. Largely situated around Europe, but also some people in India, for example. We're 12 nationalities. We speak 15 different languages. We're fully remote, which we think is one of our superpowers. We have some of the best people in the world all working for us, and we're not confined to one small area to find amazing people. And we're just a good team of sort of experienced and innovative, competent engineers and scientists working towards some of the cool solutions I hope to tell you a bit about today. So before we get into the actual specifics of Voyage Optimization, then I want to talk to you about our wider approach to how we build software in Navidium and why this is really important, or at least we believe it's really important for the maritime industry. So the maritime industry, as I've already mentioned, it's changing. It's needing to become much more transparent. A lot more companies needing to work together to find good solutions to reduce fuel, to be more transparent about how we select crew members and so on, some safety on board, etc. And one of the things that's really frustrated us, coming from previous experience in the maritime industry, is just the silos that exist. Whether it's software vendors that are fully tied to their own hardware solutions, whether it's people not sharing data, charging to just create a integration to their system, things like this. And it's been very important for us from day one to build what we call our open data environment. So what this means, if you look down at the bottom, we have a data provider catalog. This means that we can connect to, out of the box, a whole range of different either telemetry data providers, automated noon report data providers, this kind of thing, and we're willing to sort of work with anyone there, even if it's your own sort of custom cloud solution that you have. It's also possible for you yourself to build an integration to our platform, and we're willing to really ingest data and also produce data in a, for essentially anyone. Within our own then open data environment, we have our own products, our own Navidium products that sits on top of that data. But again, we have a full API catalog that gives you, as a user of Navidium platform and products, access to all that data, so you can integrate it into some of your own solutions and stuff if needed. Typically, we have then, these applications being used in offices for something like maybe a fleet manager, also onboard vessels. It could be in ports, warehouses, things like this as well, as we integrate sort of further and a bit broader in the future. So just down the left-hand side, just some of the points I've made there. So open data, it's fundamental to us. We have no data silos. You get full access to everything that we consume, everything we produce. It's for free, and it's always for free. So if you have one of the Navidium products, automatically bundled with that is our open data architecture. It's fully interoperable. All of our standards are fully open, and they will sort of grow over time and be versioned over time. It gives you the ability to develop your own integrations as well. If you have some sort of custom stuff in-house, you can also integrate fully into what we're doing. Second to open data then for us is the importance of SaaS. We are a rapidly growing company, first of all, but also the industry is changing, moving fast. And it's only natural that as we develop our products further, that all of our customers get automated, updates. If you use some of our cloud solutions, every time you log in, you'll just get the latest updates. For example, we deploy several times a week. Our on-vessel products, you'll get a little icon in the corner telling you, hey, there's a new version. You'll get that. So it's really important that you get all the updates as they come. We're not going to do an installation and you're stuck with that for the next 20 years kind of thing, which is a bit more traditional. We're not interested in locking into different hardware solutions either. So, we can be used on basically a browser. If you have a machine that can access a browser, then you can probably use our solutions. It's also really important as well that like how the product is licensed. We have a range of different types of customers, sometimes long-term owners and operators, but then other customers that might operate a pool of vessels, say 50 vessels that are maybe on short-term charters. They maybe come in and out of that pool of vessels every 3 months or something, and then are interested in huge, big hardware installations or 2-month-long software installations, etc. The ability to just assign like a pool of, say, 20 licenses and move them between different vessels and stuff is really important. Our software I've written here is dynamic. So again, I've touched a bit on this, but you can interact through our own products or our own UIs. So you'll see some examples here, like our Voyage Optimization that you're going to see today. But also we have an API catalog that you can interact with. You can interact through your own infrastructure. So we know a lot of our customers use Power BI, for example, for some of their own internal reporting. You can connect your Power BI backend to everything that we've got, and also if there's dashboards and stuff there, you can certainly populate those dashboards with the data that we're producing. And then we have a range of partners that we're working with as well. So certainly our partners interact through our product and stuff as well. And there's a channel in there to what we're doing. So really that is fundamental to everything we are doing. Whatever product it is we have, this is really, really fundamental to what we do. And we really believe this is essential, really, in the fast-moving new, so let's call it the maritime 2.0, and the need for this much more transparent, open environment, and we're making sure that we're not locking anyone into anything. I want to touch quickly as well a bit on our vessel modeling strategy. So I'm not going to go super nerdy here or super technical. There's a couple of different ways to do this, but I just really want you to understand a bit about how we're looking at the problem. We want our solutions to be very adaptable to our users. We want them to be able to scale with our users' needs. We're not interested in selling a piece of software and then selling sort of 2 months of professional services just to install that piece of software and integrate with it. We really want this to be like setting up a new email address. You just log in, you type in your credit card details, something like that, and away you go. So if I look at how vessels are modeled sort of a bit more traditionally, you have vessel-specific modeling. Now this requires sea trial data. We find this is not always available. For the customers to have this available, great. And we can simulate how that vessel operates in water, maybe under different weather conditions and stuff, based on mathematical calculations, sort of from theoretical reference curves from that sea trial data. But as you know, then there may be various upgrades to the vessel. Also, sea trial data might not take into consideration things like fouling, etc., etc. So it's a very theoretical curve. A lot of the performance metrics are sort of ISO-based, so yeah, they're well known. But onboarding of new vessels is slow. Okay, so if you want to add a new vessel, we need to get access to all that sea trial data. We need to create the models based on that, and that takes a little bit of time. We have a bit more of a modern approach, which I've called here vessel-specific learning. So that's actually then saying, okay, well, sea trial data is great, but also we can learn about actual operations of the vessel. So can we get some access to, say, historical noon reports or telemetry data is by far the best if we can get access to that, but also realizing not every vessel out there has a high frequency telemetry data source. What we can do then is we have a hybrid-based modeling approach where we can take sort of the physics-based modeling from the first one I mentioned, then also interface with an ML-based models where we can sort of take, in theory how the vessels should operate, and then in practice how we see it operating, and then we can create models to really help you simulate or help you guesstimate or help you optimize how that vessel should perform across, say, a journey or a route. But again, this requires some manual onboarding. Obviously, if you're adding a new vessel to our solution, then to do this, we need to get access to that historical data. We need to clean it, etc., etc. So, and that's very possible. We still do that today. But our sort of more chosen route and how we're sort of growing as a business is sort of at a more, I've called it here like a fleet learning approach. So we learn a lot from every vessel that we work with. We can derive sort of generic models based on a full fleet of vessels, for the hundreds and hundreds of vessels that we have sort of in our database that we've learned from. So very quickly, if you're importing a vessel into our solution, I've called it here class-based generic models, but class is too broad a term because we have a quite a sophisticated way to sort of classify a vessel, and it's not the typical class settings that you'll get within the maritime industry, but we classify a vessel. So we see all the vessel particulars that you've entered, and then we look at finding the closest matching vessel within sort of the vessels that we have today, and we apply let's call it a fairly accurate model to your vessel. It's not 100% accurate, but it's very, very close. So straight away you can import a vessel, and already you can start to simulate how that vessel will perform in different weather conditions. We can start to look at roughly how much fuel it will use in different conditions, but that can be done after a couple of clicks of a button. The really nice thing here then is over time, this model learns, it adapts, it gets better and better. And the more vessels that we add basically to our solution, the more also these sort of generic models also improve. So it means that you have a very low barrier of entry as such. You can get up and going, you have something that works well, but over time gets better and better and better because it learns, it adapts, and it adjusts your different reference curves and stuff based on real world scenarios. So it's really nice that the accuracy increases over time, but you already start at a pretty high level as well. But this also allows you to start to do things like benchmark your fleet versus industry as well. We can clearly show, how well you're performing versus similar vessels, things like this as well. So that gives higher accuracy in the long term. It gives really quick onboarding, and also helps you as a user see how you're performing versus the industry as a whole, which I know is quite interesting. That's a bit of background to sort of the idea behind our technology, and then also how we model vessels and how they perform. I'm now going to hand it over to Gavin, who's going to take you through version 1 of our Voyage Optimization X product. So let's just go over there to Gavin.
Hello everyone. Let's start off with just a really high-level overview of the application, and we'll dig into some key features before doing a full run-through of the system. So when you first log into VOX, you're presented with the world map and the main user interface options. These allow you to view the map, including all of the detailed sea marks, view weather layers, import and export, and view routes. When you're ready to import a route from your ECDIS, you'll be taken through a really intuitive workflow to import, optimize, and edit your route before exporting it again with all the advice speeds ready to import back to your ECDIS. Voyage Optimization X is also secured with industry standard OAuth protocols, which ensure safe online and offline login. Our on-vessel databases are encrypted as well to ensure that your data is secure and also to prevent any unauthorized access to our online systems. You can also see examples of our online and on-vessel offline login screens at the side there. So setting up VOX for a vessel, as Marty said, only takes a few minutes. All we need are the vessel particulars and the captain's details. And again, as Marty described, we use generic models to assign that to the vessel to use as close a match as possible for optimizations. The captain's then emailed and asked to set their own password, and that's it. There's no month-long onboarding processes. It's really quick and simple. So let's dig a little bit deeper into some of the key features. So if a vessel has an always-on internet connection, then as Marty mentioned earlier, the only thing you need to access our system is a web browser. You simply navigate to the system, log in, and get started. So that, together with the rapid setup time, means that a captain can be up and running easily within 15 minutes. All weather and AIS position data are always fully up to date in our cloud systems as well. If the vessel's internet access is a little more intermittent, then we also have the on-vessel option. And this can be installed when the vessel is in port, and it will then download weather and AIS data whenever it detects that it has internet access. And while you're offline, you can still use all of the features and functionality of the application, and it's even possible to continue to log in when you're offline for up to 30 days, thanks to our offline PIN system. But as weather forecasts and AIS data do go out of date, we do recommend connecting to the internet when possible. So the on-vessel system will also continue to get updates each time we release new features to the online system. And we aim for this to be every 2 to 4 weeks so that we're constantly delivering new value to our customers, whether they're using the on-cloud or on-vessel system. Let's briefly talk about route imports. So in future, VOX will be able to create its own routes. We're actually working on that at the moment. But for now, we can import routes created on your ECDIS using the industry standard RTZ format. So when you've then completed the optimization process, then you can export the file again with all of its original information, and now with all the included advice speeds between the beginning and the end of the sea passage. So then moving on again, to optimizations, we've got several options within the system at the moment. Our Meet ETA option calculates the slowest possible advice speed to get the vessel to the destination on time. It takes into account minimum and maximum speeds of the vessel from its particulars, and any minimum and maximum speeds that have been imported from the RTZ file for things like the maximum speed of a canal. And then crucially, it uses the wind and wave data from the system to increase speed when conditions are favourable, and then decrease speed to save fuel when the conditions are against the vessel. You can also use the vessel's defined eco speed that's taken from the vessel's particulars, or you can sail at a set speed to meet the requirements of a charter party. It's also possible to manually set the speeds for each waypoint. And regardless of the option you choose, you always have the ability to change the advice speed between waypoints. So the user always has the final say in the speed of a particular leg. Talking about the user being in control, it's also possible to manually edit the imported waypoints. So this might be needed due to a temporary restriction or to avoid some bad weather. But we also know that making changes to long values can be tricky. So we also allow you to revert the changes for a single waypoint or a whole route and back to those imported values. So let's move on and take a look at weather. So along with security and route optimizations, the weather has been a really key focus of this initial release. We've got layers in there for air pressure, wind speed, wind gust, wind wave, sea current, and sea swell, with more planned to be added in future releases. It's also possible to move forward and backwards through the available forecast data to visualize how the weather changes over time. For cloud users, weather is always kept up to date, and for on-vessel users, weather data is automatically downloaded multiple times a day. This is done via industry standard netcdf files to keep the download size as small as possible. And where weather really becomes useful is when you've got a route loaded. Our weather along the route feature displays wind speed and sea swell every 50 nautical miles, along with the advised speed for each waypoint. And then using the predicted vessel position, it's possible to identify exactly where areas of bad weather may be and allow you to take action to reduce risk by changing course or speed in order to avoid it. All right, so just before we get into the demo, if you have any feedback for us, then please email us at feedback@navidium.com. Marty and I get those emails, and we would really be delighted to hear from you. So I'm going to take over screen sharing. And we'll run through the system. So what we're going to do is we're going to import a route, demonstrate all the key features, and then export the route again. For this demo, I'm going to use the cloud system, but again, all features function exactly the same way when installed on vessel. So I've navigated to the VOX system, and I have the login screen. As we mentioned earlier, the user sets their own password, so Navidium never knows any customer passwords, and no passwords are ever sent insecurely via email. For on-vessel users, the first time you log in, you'll also be prompted to create a 4-digit PIN number to use in place of your password when you are offline. And this PIN number is encrypted in the local database, meaning that we do not ever store passwords locally on machines. So my username and password are already set here, so I'll just continue to log in. So we've arrived at the world map screen, and I've got a route already loaded. So what we're going to do in future is we're actually going to have a library of previously sailed routes. So you'll be able to log in, select a different route, and work on it from there. But what we're going to do now is go through the new import process. So I'll delete this route that was already in progress, and go ahead and import our route. Okay, so firstly it zooms in to the route, and we can set our estimated time of departure and then our estimated time of arrival, which I'll make a little bit earlier, and our draft values. And the draft values are important here because it does affect the optimization and estimated fuel calculations. So next, coming into our optimization settings screen, we're not going to use them in this demonstration, but the RTZ files can import leg speeds or max speeds into the system. So again, if it was a maximum speed that was maybe set for a canal, or there's set speeds that are defined for particular legs, then you can use those from the RTZ file, and they won't be changed during things like the Meet ETA optimization. So we'll pick the Meet ETA option for now and click Next. So we're then taken to the waypoint screen, which shows us the latitude and longitude of each waypoint, and also allows us to select the beginning and end of sea passage. So I'm going to select waypoint 6 as my starting point, scroll down and pick waypoint 50 as my end of sea passage, and I'm going to click Calculate. So what this will do is work out, as I said earlier, the slowest possible advised speed that can be sailed for each leg, given the weather conditions, in order to arrive at the end of sea passage at our estimated time of arrival. What we're also going to do next, just while this is calculating, is we'll show you how to select a waypoint on the table and the map, and we're also going to edit the route to simulate avoiding some bad weather. Okay, so in this case, the vessel is going to arrive late. So based on the maximum speed of the vessel, the MET-AT optimization hasn't been able to get us there on time. So what I could do is hit the previous step, change the estimated time of arrival, come forward and run the calculation again, and it would work within the maximum speeds. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and edit a couple of the waypoints. So we will go up here and I'm going to click on waypoint 32 because I want to come round this island in a different way. So if I just zoom in slightly, I'm going to change these two waypoints and we'll come round this island. So I'm going to change this. Actually, yes, good point. So whenever you go to edit a waypoint, we pop up a warning to say that the resulting changes need to be validated in your charting system. So that's a really key thing, that Voyage Optimization is not a charting system. So we need to make sure that people understand that before they edit. So waypoint 32 is going to be changed to 37.62, which has changed the route immediately. And then the next waypoint is going to change 37.43 and 24.27. And you can see now that the route has gone around the other side of that island. It's also highlighted the edited fields within the waypoints, and you can revert either one of them by clicking on those buttons, or you can revert the whole route by clicking on the revert button up here. You'll also notice that the weather indicators that were along the route disappeared as soon as I edited the waypoint, and that's because I need to recalculate the predictions in order to show accurate weather along the route. All right, so this will take a few seconds to run again. So let's just mention again the optimization options that we could have selected. So instead of MET-ATA, we could have used a set speed of our choosing, or we could have used the vessel's rated eco speed, or we could have indeed chosen to set all the individual leg speeds manually. All right, so we are still late by a couple of hours, but we've also got our prediction and we can also see weather along route. So I'm just going to click save on this just now, which takes us back into the planning phase. And we also now have this button here, which is the export button, which I can then click on that and export the file. And that's ready to be picked up and exported to your ECDIS machine. Okay, so as we can see here, we've got our weather along route. We've also got our predicted vessel position. So if I move the forecasted data along here, we can see the predicted vessel position moving along. But I think one of the best things to do here is also to look at the other weather layers. So we'll turn weather along route off for a moment and turn some of our other weather layers on. So surface wind, and we'll also turn on the pressure chart. So you can see here that we're using industry standard wind barbs within the wind layer to visualize that, and also a color gradient. So we can also see that our pressure chart laid out across the world. So that's wind, and also if I just pick one of the other layers, pick sea current, and you can see particularly strong sea current here around Somalia. And also change that to sea swell. And again, you can see that being drawn in the different size and direction of the arrows, and also the color gradient of the layer. All right, so if I go back to surface wind, and back to my route. You can actually see that as I move the vessel position forward, you can see the weather advancing and changing. As we see that by Thursday at 4 AM, we'll be here and the weather is reasonably calm around that area. Okay, so from the demo, we've been able to look at sailing at the slowest possible speed to meet our time. We've talked about editing routes, and we've had a look through the weather. So let's go back to the presentation and we'll take a look at what's coming up over the next few months.
Just while I reshare my screen, one thing just being on the other end of your presentation there, I could see when you were doing a lot of moving around weather and stuff, actually our recording, obviously our meeting software struggled a little bit to keep up with the resolution. So you might have seen a few times it got a little bit blurry. I can assure you that's not how it looked on Gavin's screen. I think it's just more how we were recording our screens at the moment. It didn't look absolutely perfect, but I think you still got the idea. Righto. So I will just click onto this one.
Yeah. So we've seen what's in version 1.0 at the moment, but we are really excited about what's coming next for Voyage Optimization X. Version 1 is really just the sort of beginning. It's the kind of stable platform that we can build on from here. And we've got some really big features on the way over the upcoming months. Research and development's already begun on several of these, and we expect them to be added into VOX soon. So just some examples, so monitoring of voyage progress and then in-voyage re-optimization to ensure you arrive on time. Advised RPM for each leg calculated based on machine learning models to maintain the advised speed. You'll be able to create routes from within VOX to save time in the planning phase. You'll be able to compare multiple routes and optimization options for a voyage and then choose the one which best suits the key performance indicators for the voyage. You'll be able to reduce risk by planning around bad weather conditions. When planning a voyage, you'll be able to view the estimated CII rating based on the expected fuel use. Then during a voyage, you'll be able to enter the actual fuel used and then see the CII rating for the voyage. You'll then be able to roll up those voyages to give you the rating for the vessel, and then you'll be able to see CII ratings across your fleet. Speaking of fleets, we're also going to start building towards our fleet dashboard. And then to go into that and some other future plans, I'll hand back to Marty.
Alrighty. Okay, so then just what's coming as well. So obviously we are collecting data from different data sources. Sometimes it's just AIS data, sometimes it's noon report data, sometimes it's telemetry data. There's data kind of streaming in everywhere. So of course, there's a few different things we can do with that. One thing that we've got, and it's a little bit based on different use cases from customers and stuff, but we have the ability to do a lot of sort of calculations in that data, everything from kind of very ISO standard hull and propeller performance monitoring. We have our machinery monitoring capabilities as well, where we can apply a lot of calculations kind of coming in on top of your data, very much depending on the data that you have, which is why I haven't shown a lot of detail of different KPIs here. But we can go quite into detail and showing you different performance metrics based on the data that you've got coming in. But most importantly, right now, with the way things are going, is an area we're super excited about, and that's within environmental compliance. So Gavin mentioned there that we are, within our VOX product, we are bringing in just in the next couple of weeks, actually, just when you do this prediction that you saw earlier. Where it shows, this is how much fuel you're going to use, etc. There will also be an estimated CII rating based on that voyage. And then over time, for each of your voyages and port operations, VOX will kind of accumulate your CII rating for each voyage and then help you with the reporting at the end of the year to do your sort of official CII reporting to various different MRVs. But that's at the vessel level, which is very important because at the most important level, which is at your fleet level, then we need that data. And that's where we introduce our environmental compliance product, where it's really to help you as, say, like a fleet manager, view your whole fleet, see not just CII, but EEXI and all the different sort of new regulations coming out, where we'll really keep track of them for you, really understand the different reporting formats. And you can see here a few different examples. If I look at the screen at the very far right, that's helping you visualize your whole fleet, understanding what their current CII rating is. If you look at the one in the middle, you'll see a small graph top right. Sorry, it's not super clear, but that will show you how your CII rating and EEXI ratings and stuff progress over time with the various different restrictions, or not so much restrictions, but calculations that are happening each year and how they're getting stricter. So really helping you visualize not just what's coming from what Gavin just showed within VOX, which is very much vessel specific, up to the sort of fleet view, which will really help you show the emissions across your whole fleet and do all that automated reporting and stuff on your behalf, because that we know this is a little bit of a reporting nightmare today, and if we can automate as much of that as possible, then that's great. About just the automation, that's very dependent as well on the sort of data that we're getting from you. In the most basic format, where we're just collecting, say, AIS data, we will be able to see all the different routes your vessel has sailed. We can show you all those routes. We can ask you then to manually type in the fuel type you've used, how much fuel you've used. So there will be a bit of manual intervention there, but in a case that we have a telemetry data feed and so on, then we can actually collect, I think, pretty much all of it in an automatic format, and then generate all those reports for you. So as Gavin mentioned, we would love your feedback. I'm just showing this again. That's us wrapping up for today. It is a very like a quick skimming a rock across the top of a few different topics, but we're super keen to speak to people who are interested in learning more, interested in giving us feedback, anything from even how the product seemed to feel or look, or maybe some things that maybe you believe that we've missed in it, or anything at all. If you'd like to trial the product, if you'd like to just understand our roadmap in more detail, anything like that, we are all ears, and we would love your feedback. So feel free to reach out to us. If you reach out to us there, we can also invite you into, we have a thing called our Slack community. We have, for all our customers and users and so on, we have an area within Slack that everyone can be invited into. You can chat to us there. We have a few different channels for things like announcements and so on. So if you email us at the feedback, we will happily invite you in there, and then you have us sort of live on chat to chat to, and you can hear a lot about what we're doing in there, and hopefully gives you that better interaction with us as well if you're interested in exploring more. That's us for today then. Thanks on my behalf and on Gavin's behalf, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.